Hey y'all, welcome back to Bowls with the Bard. My name is Cakes, I am your host. On today's episode of Cakes Takes, we will be chatting about As You Like It at Brave Spirits Theater. But first, I'm gonna get high. As You Like It at Brave Spirits Theater, directed by Jessica Amon and music directed by Zach Roberts. So, as y'all know, As You Like It is my favorite Shakespeare play, so I was absolutely thrilled to go into this production, and I'm happy to say that it is delightful, wonderful, it made me smile. It was everything that I love about As You Like It. I love As You Like It because I think it is funny and I think it has one of Shakespeare's best love stories, and I think Brave Spirits' production of this play highlights that perfectly. One of my funny highlights was Brendan Kennedy as Oliver. Oliver usually gets played as like this dark, horrible, evil character at the beginning of the play, and Brendan does a smidge of this, though it's more in the like stereotype realm. He finds a way to make the character funny at the beginning of the play by giving him a sort of weakness. I think that this is a brilliant choice because, as we all know, Oliver ends up with Celia at the end of the play, and they fall in love instantly, and if you start the play with this horrible, terrible, evil Oliver, then it becomes really hard to come to terms with the fact that Celia falls in love with him at the end of the play. So I think that this was a wonderful way to both A, add some humor to the play, and B, justify a decision that Shakespeare made. I also adored McKenzie Larson as Audrey. She literally only plays Audrey. If you don't know the play, Audrey is not the biggest part, but you definitely walk out of this production remembering Audrey. Mackenzie plays her as a valley girl. The voice she uses for the character is perfect, and her delivery is even better. I had a moment where I quite literally forgot that one of the lines that she said was actually a line of text in the play, because her delivery of it was so good and so modern that I was like, mind blown. This works so well. Yeah, she made me laugh pretty much every second that she was on stage. I'm not quite sure how they made this work. I'm sure it was good direction, but they somehow managed to make really big choices work and really funny, even though the space that they were performing in was actually quite intimate. In particular, Rebecca Spees as Celia was making massive choices all night long, but I was absolutely living for it. Kind of veering out of the category of humor for a second and going just into Rebecca's performance, because I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Celia is frequently played as a character who just is Rosalind's yes man, and a lot of people tend to seem to think that she's a weak character, but the text doesn't really support that idea. Celia talks back to Rosalind quite a few times, and I think Rebecca did an excellent job of grasping that part of Celia's character, the part that loves Rosalind and cares about Rosalind, but when you love somebody like a sibling, they also drive you crazy sometimes, and I think Rebecca found that balance beautifully. Jumping back into Humorland with Rebecca, she made beautiful use of this device where she used uh-ahs and uh-ahs in places where she didn't have text to express her opinion. It was very funny. You should definitely go see it for yourself. Now, what I appreciated about the love story element of this production was that this version of Orlando seemed to be an equal to Rosalind, in a way that you expect more with like a Beatrice Benedict relationship. It was awesome to see, because I think people tend to justify Orlando as being stupid just because he has that one tongue-tied moment at the beginning of the play, and because maybe he's not the best poet in the world. I guess he also doesn't realize that Rosalind is Rosalind and a girl, so I guess you can kind of justify him being stupid in that way. But I kind of don't love that decision because Rosalind is so smart that when you make Orlando dumb all around, it's hard to believe that she would fall in love with him. So this version of Orlando, Ben Peters' version of Orlando, he was a little bit smarter and a little bit more charming than most Orlandos that I've seen, and I thought that really worked. As for the music parts of this production, I really liked a lot of it. I thought that the group numbers were beautiful, the harmonies were gorgeous, they found fun and creative ways to stage the group numbers. I thought that pretty much any number that came in a transition, like that came in and introduced the new scene with a song, those typically worked, but I had problems with songs that would end scenes with characters. I trained in musical theater, and one of the things that we get taught very early on in musical theater is that a character only sings when they get to a super heightened place of emotion, and I wasn't sure that the characters always earned the song at the moment that they were singing. So I definitely think that that's something for Zach to consider in the future. I think you have something with what you're doing, and there's some really beautiful stuff in there, but there were some things that felt out of place. The set of this production is simple but absolutely beautiful. They have made trees out of paper that looks like the notes that Orlando would have written to Rosalind. The costume design was on point. When we were in Courtland, we had more blues and teals and kind of darker shades of colors, and then when we went into the Forest of Arden, we had more reds and flannels, and they were bright and a little bit more fun. Speaking of those switches, I would like to give a special shout out to Ian Blackwell Rogers, who plays both Duke Frederick and Duke Senior. His Duke Frederick is very uptight and, you know, horrid. He's not a good guy, and I loved the effect of the posse behind him. Every time he came on, I was watching the faces of the people behind him half the time because they were really funny. But the best part of Ian's performance was when he first came on as Duke Senior, and suddenly he was in like hippie, peace and love, we accept everybody here land, and it was such a stark contrast to his first character that I let out a pretty big laugh. My very last note is just a general note that this production is cast extremely well. I might not have mentioned everybody's name, but everybody in this production does a great job at portraying the characters that they're playing. I'm literally sitting here right now thinking about like Charlie's portrayal of Adam in contrast to his portrayal of the Corrin. I'm thinking of Dan Westabrook's Sylvius. I mean, literally everybody in this production is cast well. So yeah, overall, if you want to have a very fun night at the theater, if you want to laugh a lot and see a joyous production of As You Like It, then get yourself to Brave Spirits these last 2 weeks. If you enjoyed today's episode and you would like to see more content like it, please like us on Facebook at Bowls with the Bard, subscribe to us on YouTube and ReadTube at Bowls with the Bard, and follow us on Instagram at Stone Shakespeare. Bye, y'all.
Lay me where sad true lover never find my grave to weep there.